welcome to North Dakota After Dark, where we have checked two boxes and that it is after dark, and we are mostly in North Dakota. Corey will be joining us soon, but in the interim, we are very pleased to welcome Randy Lieberg from JLG Architects. Randy is the chief ice designer at JLG Architects, and he is here tonight to talk to us a little bit about rink design and how the future of rink design will take into account parents and those who are the users of the rink off the ice. So Randy, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Why, thank you.
Here's Corey. Very good timing. Corey, I hope you can hear us. One of the things, Corey, we just got started and introduced Randy. So Randy, meet Corey. Corey, meet Randy.
Howdy.
I guess while you're here, Corey, we should let you know that Randy is yet another Central grad we have on the show. So for those of you keeping track, Jeremy, add one to the Central tally.
At some point you figure out that this is no longer just a coincidence or a circumstance, Kyle.
Yeah, it's a way of life.
Conspiracy.
So again, welcome, Randy. Randy, a lot of things we talk about on the show are, I guess, things related to youth hockey, hockey in North Dakota, and all things in between. So, Randy, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and then I guess sort of how you got into rink design, and then we'll kind of get into some of the things you see in that field going forward.
Well, I think I can handle that. I have experienced youth hockey as a parent, and I have experienced North Dakota as a resident. So, I got that going for me, which is
I love it.
I am a graduate of Grand Forks Central in the mid-1980s, and I actually was convinced to try hockey myself at about my junior year of high school, which you could never do now. I strapped on the goalie pads, and my first day of practice, I put the pads on the wrong legs. That's how green I was. But I had a good time. The whole aspect of it was great. So I enjoyed it while I was there. And then I picked it up again when my middle child started playing goal, as well as probably a mite. I don't know how old he was, but and I enjoyed it until my knees blew out. So my direct experience with hockey is limited to that. I get asked all the time, did you play college hockey, etc.? And I have to begrudgingly say no. But, I've got three kids. Two of them played puck, and one of them continues to do so now as an adult, and he coaches as well in the Fargo area. And right about the time that he started really getting into the sport was about the time that we at our architecture firm figured out that there was something that a firm from North Dakota could be a national expert at, and that's ice hockey arenas. I don't think anyone would even bat an eye at the idea of ice hockey arenas, but if we said it was medical facilities, there might be some, there's lots and lots of firms out there all over the world, but ice hockey, that's North Dakota, Minnesota. So I've been fortunate enough to be doing that for, a long time, decade and a half, just on sports facilities, and we've worked all over the place. I've been involved in mostly collegiate projects is the kind of stuff that I like, but certainly at the community level as well. So, yeah, lots of puck.
Well, yes, yeah, and Randy, I've been to a lot of those arenas with you, and one of the things that I guess stuck out to me as a person that had not been involved with it as long as you is a lot of the amenities going into some of these facilities are a lot more higher end than we expect from a rink. The club lounge at Sacred Heart, for example, it looks like a very modern, almost like a nightclub or a restaurant. Could you speak to that a little bit? Is that one of the trends you're seeing in college, or is that filtering down to community rinks as well?
Well, I think the trickle-down effect is certainly there. The NHL facilities, of course, like almost all pro sports, started the trend because they were looking for ways to generate revenue. constantly generating revenue, and they needed more options within a facility, not just the club, but a club, not just the restaurant, but a restaurant, and so on. And I think the ability to provide great services and great experiences for fans certainly trickled down to the collegiate level, and for better or for worse, that in turn has trickled down at least somewhat to even the community level. And not so much that you have to have a glitzy nightclub in your local barn, but the idea being that there are things that help make the experience better, and it's not just boring and bland. That when you're there, I think for a lot of these community rinks, as you all know, you often spend more than just the game time there. It might be tournament time, might be practice time, and if there's something else to do, that's an added benefit for the user. So it's that trickle down is really definitely noticeable.
And one of the things, all our kids play together, as I've said a few times on the show, but we have the opportunity to go to a lot of different rinks together. And you're seeing things, like enhanced concessions, better seating, better lighting, stuff for other kids to do in the rink. And again, I think it speaks to how much time people are spending there. And I think the other thing that maybe gets lost in the shuffle is that people are spending a lot of money for their kids to play hockey and want that experience to reflect sometimes the expenditure. So, just speaking, Randy, a little bit to the community level, are there any things you see going forward, or anything or I guess any areas where people are trying to invest that money when they're looking at a new facility?
Well, interestingly enough, I did a presentation on a similar topic to a national group a few years ago when I attended the National Ice Rink Conference, and I broke it down into six facets, if you will. The idea of maximizing the facility use, whatever square footage, whatever nook and cranny, use it. Improve the user's experience, both on the ice and off the ice. Find incredible spaces that are already there in your facility. And then the last three really tie together. Attract more people, bring them back, and then increase the revenue. And all of those things, it's not a bad thing to want to increase the revenue if you're running a rink, because what you're doing then is you're providing a good service. If you're not providing that service, people aren't going to take advantage. So I think it's important to keep in mind all of those things in the rinks. And there's lots of examples of things that rink operators can do, from building new to renovating existing.
One of the arenas that we've visited together, Randy, is in Wellesley, Massachusetts. And one of the things I find really interesting about that one is it has a pool, a gym, a doctor's office, and a rehab facility, plus a lot of retail space, a classroom. And they, just speaking to your wanting to bring people back, they take in a lot of demographic data about who is coming through the door, and then consequently tailor their approach to those customers, I guess you could call them, coming through the door. Is that something you could foresee coming to the Midwest, where it's more, community style rinks versus a private rink, or how do you think that translates to our neck of the woods?
Well, I think you hit on it, Kyle. The difference between private rinks and community rinks is pretty sharp, in the sense that community rinks are generally there as a benefit to the community. They're a quality of life item. And we see that in the communities that we live in, where our kids don't spend nearly as much. Well, let me rephrase that. We don't spend nearly as much for our kids to do the sport as they do in other communities, because it's subsidized by the community. Whereas the private rinks, their whole purpose is to generate dollars. But that doesn't mean that that those things can't translate. So I think the key is that I think you have to look at it like, could any of the amenities that you were just talking about stand on their own? Are they things that people want to do anyway? Do they want to get coffee? Do they want to have a beer in a pub, which is maybe a little outside of what we see, but I mean, you don't have to go very far out of our area to see options where there are food and beverage available. It might not be in the rink, but it could be adjacent to the rink. I mean, it could be anything. Recovery spaces that even the adults can take advantage of. Mini golf, movies, or unique ways to watch TV and music. Things that instead of just having the TV in the corner that's either blaring the Weather Channel or silent, you can tailor spaces to really give people something that they are interested in seeing and experiencing.
Randy, are you seeing any of these community type arrangements looking to utilize some more of retail or sales space to try to reduce the cost for the communities?
When you say that, are you suggesting that they might be able to offer the retail products at a better rate than their competitors, or?
No, actually, would a community ice center be looking to offer commercial sales experiences, products, or other things so they could use that profit to offset the cost of the hockey in that association's area?
Absolutely. And it could be anything from, I mean, the bottom line is again, as we as hockey parents have come up through the years, every one of us has had to do some time at the concession stand, at the penalty box. You know, we are required as a resource to try and to make the facility operate properly. But if the facility has the ability to staff those areas, I think it's great. And I think one of the things that we're seeing that's maybe a hybrid is that you may have, let's just say, the pro shop, that you can lease out the pro shop space to a third party who is going to operate it and take the profit. I would assume a percentage of that profit goes back to the facility. But having people come in the door for that is going to get them to spend their time and money in other areas of the facility. That might be the concessions, that might be programs that are happening. So it can be a hybrid too.
Oh, that's interesting. And don't think for a second your Caddyshack joke got past me when you started out, because Goonga to you too, sir.
I think it's genius to incorporate these, like you were saying, other activities, you know, when you said mini golf and coffee shops and stuff, because I think one of the things hockey has that, you know, is unique to it is it's primarily a winter sport. So when these people are going to these destination places, most people don't want to go to many places. So if these facilities can offer a place to get coffee, a place to get a beer, place to eat, place for the kids to hang out, most people are totally fine with staying in one location, hockey parents anyways. I mean, it just offers a convenience to them that I think really appeals specifically, you know, because certain sports, if they're all year round, you know, you might want to get outside a little bit more, but hockey just typically that's not the desire, is to go outside and hang out. So when these arenas offer these perks, you know, I mean, you remember some of the stuff you were talking about, I've seen in Winnipeg arenas. You know, there's some rinks up there that have a bar and grill that overlooks the ice, you know. Right. When you talk about the pro shop, I've seen one, you know, and it's just, it really, it adds to the experience. It really does. It's kind of leveling up these hockey facilities, and it's really neat to see where they're going. Because I mean, when I was little, I remember playing girls hockey in Stonewall, Canada, and we were in an actual barn, and there was a hole in the wall, and the snow was blowing into the building. So hockey arenas have taken a step, and it's really cool to see. I have a question though in rink design, because, you know, as Kyle had mentioned, they're looking at doing some updating for the Purple Arena. That's where my husband coaches with Central. And but as you guys do this, you zip it, Corey, all right? These are Central people talking, Corey.
I'm gonna put baby in the corner right now while you finish.
Baby's in the corner. But what's the most expensive part of any, like, what what part of the design process is going in a rink facility is going to be the highest dollar part of the design?
Well, I think other than the obvious of the actual rink and refrigeration equipment itself, because that's the vast majority of the cost. I think after that, it's just going to be the square footage of the facility, and by that I mean that every square foot of space costs money. And so saying, well, let's just add a locker room. That locker room might have a pretty healthy price tag to it. So the more spaces that we can use or that we can set up that can be multi-use, the better. In fact, I was just talking to one of my colleagues today about creating a room in, we're looking at doing some renovations at the Bloomington Ice Garden Arena. And and we're trying to plan for several different sets of varsity locker rooms for the multiple teams that play. And by getting creative, we can open up some room so that there's a multi-purpose room that can be a party room. It can be tournament HQ when it's tournament time. It can be the Crockpot Central. It can be a variety of different things. It can be the community meeting room or the board meeting for the youth association. It can be a lot of different things. So I think the easiest way for us to maximize the value is to have as many of those as possible.
So have you ever considered having an add-on to a hockey rink, there being a place where dads can go to specifically complain about how poor their kid was playing?
Yeah. Yes, and in all seriousness, I was going to bring this up at some point in the conversation, but this is a good segue. One of the best examples that I've seen is in a northern suburb of Denver, and a guy by the name of Tony Sadeo, who played football, I believe, at UND back in the day. He put together a facility that has just about everything you can imagine under one roof that's legal. There's turf space, lacrosse space, there's studio ice, there's full ice, there's golf simulators, any number of things. There's bar and restaurant. And the idea was that if you're going to come and drop your kid off for even practice, why in the world would you leave if you can go have a beer in the bar and maybe book a session in the golf simulator? Make those things available. And so I think the idea of having that bar space where you can have a pint and kvetch about your kid, it's built right into the facility.
Randy, you had me at hello. Not gonna. Back when our kids were, especially the termite age, where the practices were 45 minutes, and parents still went because 45 minutes is not enough time to do anything as far as getting across. No. 15 minutes somewhere, 15 minutes back. And so being able to go there and not have to watch a 45-minute termite practice would have been fantastic. I know there's some parents who want to watch these things. I did not care.
Well, that's why you moved to Roseau, so that the Legion is across the parking lot.
That's right.
I'm just saying.
That's just good planning.
To be fair,
like he knows who my neighbor is.
Yeah, the local coordinators do a good job. Sir Eric Fabian, they run a terrific mite practice. So shout out to them.
But in all seriousness, that's why those amenities help. Instead of just the lobby, or I talked about that spot where there's the TV that's on silent. It doesn't take very much to provide something that's an alternative. And maybe for some communities, that the reality is you encourage the coffee shop to move into the strip mall next door. It may not be in the facility, but it's close enough that there can be some reciprocal sort of arrangement. And I just, anything you can do to think about quality of experience for the users, not the people on the ice, but the people that support the people on the ice.
Right.
Well, and your transition leads me to my transition of having said that, what's the craziest thing you've ever heard someone put into one of these complexes?
Oh, well, I haven't actually seen it, but I guarantee there's axe throwing someplace.
Nice. That's a good way to take out your
Yeah.
frustration.
Yeah. Maybe some adult entertainment someplace up north of the border. I would have to imagine.
Okay.
You see that happening, yeah. Regina, probably.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's wonderful. City
Sounds
of the
like
Rhymes is fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
I can't reach my sticker. I have one too.
Yep.
Deal. Well, Randy, thank you so much for all this information. It's really, we kind of wanted to just touch on facilities. It's one place we hadn't gone so far. So I appreciate you joining us, and really like to have you back another time just to talk maybe a little more specifically about some rinks we all know, and share some thoughts and ideas if you're willing to come back.
Well, I'm kind of thinking that Purper needs to have a food and beverage, a bar incorporated, and you can call it the Kitty Cat Lounge.
Yeah, I tell you,
Yes.
our esteemed sponsor, Sean Endries of Endries Construction, is all over it. We stood in the tunnel at Purper the other day. Said, I never noticed how shallow the rake is trying to sit here. So that's you'll have a willing, some willing participants here in Grand Forks.
I feel like Eagles could use it first.
True.
They already got their improvements. Okay, Corey?
Sorry, Randy. I just keep going.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying you have to call it the Kitty Cat Lounge because it's purr.
The purr, yeah.
Kelly's all over it. So, right?
I may never see my husband again, though. If he would choose to live there, there's a restaurant there.
Oh, I thought
You took that somewhere else. Huh?
I just thought, Kelly, you were going to stay there, and Matt could just come and go as he pleased. So
Either or.
My mistake.
That sounds good for a marriage. So
healthy, right? So, Randy, thanks again. That was I thought that was very informative, and really appreciate you jumping on with us.
Right on.
Thanks, Randy.
thanks,
All
Randy.
right.
Thanks, Randy.
See ya.
Bye. Well, thank you very much to Randy Lieberg. This is a very special episode where you get two guests for one. So we're really pleased to welcome another Central grad, Central Hall of Famer, Shane Reynolds.
Recent addition to the Central Hall of Fame.
Very recent addition to the Central Hall of Fame.
Why does it say Andrea? We don't want Andrea. We want
He's
Shane.
incognito. Andrea's already been there.
Andrea's the boss of that house,
Oh.
okay? And Shane is only here with her permission.
Not fair.
While we're waiting for that, their AOL to boot up, you can hear the modem from across the street. Shane, welcome to the show.
Hey.
All right, there we go. Sorry for the technical difficulties over here.
There is no technical difficulties, but I would like to say, oh dear.
Oh dear.
Well done.
Well
Well
played.
done.
Shane, welcome to the program. You are our second guest of the evening.
Lucky me.
Yeah, is that Shane, is that your pajama hat? Or do you wear that one?
Yeah, it is. Yes.
That's the one you sleep in?
But it's my before bed.
Okay. So Shane has to wake up in about 7 minutes to get ready for work. So we are going to
joke.
get right after it here. So before you came on, Shane, we mentioned you are, in addition to being my neighbor, a Central grad, a Central Hall of Famer, big time wrestler and football player, now hockey dryland coach. So we're going to talk to you about the crossover.
So the crossover from 30 years ago to
Today, yeah.
Dryland coach.
Yeah. So that, 30 years ago, about 10 years before Kelly was born. So you'll have to watch
Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, you're welcome, Kelly.
Not true, but I'm gonna let it slide. Yeah, because obviously.
You have to update some of the terms. So before I guess I jump too far ahead, let's do two things. Corey, you want to tell us about our nice sponsor?
I will. Just in case you've ever not heard of them, Endries Construction Services. With over 20 years of experience in all areas of construction, projects worked on include banks, oral surgery offices, dental offices, schools, retail space, auto body shops. You name it, they can build it. They offer assistance with all phases of construction, from the initial design phase all the way through completion. They do primarily professional construction services in the commercial space. You dream it, they can make it a reality. Hendry's Construction Services.
Wonderful. Secondly, what's everybody drinking?
I'm back in my high noon. I'm in my high noon era.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. So we're there. It's again, I like drinks that remind me of summer. Just keeps me going.
Why not?
Yeah.
Jane, you got anything going?
Yeah, I got the Sazerac, which is a summer, winter, fall, spring type drink.
I call it the Four Seasons
It's for
whiskey.
all seasons.
Yeah. Corey?
What are we on, the 24th episode or 23rd?
Episode 24.
Episode 24.
Or 24 in Canada.
I am very ashamed to admit that I am drinking a Blue Dolphin out of the Coacherian Baseball Cup because I was late to get to the podcast for a reason I will tell later after Shane or at the end of this, which is a hilarious hockey story, I promise. But I literally ran through the kitchen, grabbed my glass of water and said, I guess this is going to be good enough today.
We were taking bets on if it involved Parker bleeding because
It did.
Okay, all right.
I mean, 50-50, right?
I left him in one piece.
So Corey was late.
I was late. I was about, I think, 5 to 8 minutes late.
Barely though. So it was just fine.
But for a hockey related reason. And it's funny.
That counts. So
That's on time in my book.
I had a Corey during the first guest, which was George Dickel and Fresca. Now I moved on to Icewind, which is called a beach cruiser. I'm also moved on to summer drinks. Pretty good.
Nice.
Golden Ale.
Icewind, soon to be our second commercial sponsor.
Fingers crossed if they
And where do you pick up? Where do
they
you
have
pick
blocked
up
us
Icewind?
one day, you know.
Yeah.
So Shane, thanks so much for joining us. We've been meaning to have you on here for a little bit. Second Reynolds on the podcast after Andrea in episode 8.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
The best one first. That's good.
Your better half. She
Right.
was first.
I would say to compare and contrast, Andrea was very serious, so we're really expecting you, Shane, to go off the rails a little.
More serious or less?
Way less.
Oh, we should be fine.
Yeah.
We should be
So
fine.
okay, good. So I sort of teased it out a little bit, but as I said, I guess, Shane, you were a wrestler in high school, you played football in high school, and you now have 3 boys that are hockey players, and you have been involved for, I guess, a number of years now doing some off-ice and dry land training for them. Could you tell us a little bit about how you arrived as a hockey dry land trainer?
Hockey dryland trainer. Yeah. So let's see, that would have been with my oldest boy. I think it happened somewhere in that maybe second year squirt timeline. The coach, I think the stigma with being a wrestler for me was, well, he should be in shape. So you're running our dryland.
Yeah.
So, okay. And that was 6-7 years ago, 8 years ago. Just kept doing it. That's way too serious.
Well,
You're right though. I mean, I wrestled in high school, and with my oldest boy, haven't yet with Parker's group, but my oldest boy, I ran all of their dry lands.
and
Yeah.
to be clear though, Corey wrestled with popularity, not with other people, right?
Oh, listen. Well, I mean, a little column A, a little column B, Kyle.
Oh, that was right on a platter.
Not at all.
Corey, I'm sorry.
You're not sorry.
No, not really at all.
I'm just mad, in all honesty, guys. I'm just mad because Shane Reynolds is honestly the reason I can't grow a beard. Because, you look at someone else's beard and just like, it's just never going to happen for me.
That's tough. That is hard.
One day I'll shave some patches in there for a few days.
There you go.
Thanks, buddy.
If you could rock my summer beard, that'd be fantastic. Summer here, summer there.
That's right.
Oh, that's actually my dad's favorite joke. He would, someone would, we'd be at a family type of event, and an aunt or someone would start teasing us like, "Hey, you boys have any girlfriends?" He goes, "Yeah, they've got summer girls." And people would laugh like, "What does that mean?" He goes, "Some are fives, some are sixes." Thanks, Dad.
Love you, Dad.
Yeah. So back to dryland. So did you put any thought? Did you just like jump in with both feet, Shane? Did you like come in prepared? Did you try and tailor what you learned to make it suitable for hockey guys? How'd you get at it there?
Yeah, I guess just hitting a few wrestling camps when I was younger in Bismarck. Week-long camps. We did a lot of dryland, big part of that. So I guess that just stuck with me as a base, and then work from there. Google is a great dictionary for anything that you need to find. So
I think dryland is becoming like so much more important at such younger ages. Like, I even talked to Matt about like, so Jet's team does dryland twice a week, and these are 12 and 13-year-olds. And I asked Matt, I said, when you were 12 and 13, were you guys doing dryland training? He's like, no, but I really wish we would have. He's like, because, he said, it's just really incredible to see the strength that you can achieve at dryland that then translates to the ice. He's like, I wish that we would have done something. So I think that that's one of those, like, as time moves on, improvements that we're making, like, and I see it in Jet even, like, because I was kind of a skeptic. I'm a mom, so I'm always the one like, oh, come on, lay off of them. They're doing amazing. But I genuinely see the difference in him since dryland has been incorporated, in his endurance, in his strength when things are getting more physical as they get older, so I kind of had to eat my words on that, because I was like, this is too much. And the proof is there, it does work.
It seems like in any sport, it's getting younger and younger the age at which it starts, and you can see it in the athletes that are bigger, stronger, faster than they've ever been. It's it's not just from showing up at practice for an hour 3 days or 3 days a week. There's extra going into it.
Yeah, building those muscles that incorporate into skating, not just through skating, but off the ice too. This is me learning, because that never would have occurred to me. I'm a non-athlete. I'm a sitting person. I'm a pro sitter. I like to incorporate it as much as possible in my day. So my children take after their dad, where they're pro movement. But I'm staying on the other side.
Hey, Shane, hypothetically, did you ever bring along like a 7 or 8-year-old girl to shame some of the boys you trained into working harder?
I've done that before. Yes.
Okay, good.
Shame is a wonderful tool.
Glad we see things with like minds. Yes. I'm going to take back every time I've called you and Kyle the second best neighborhood combo of neighbors. Gonna take it all back.
Desiree got a deep bench story. Deep bench. So you mentioned doing dryland for wrestling, and then I presume quite a bit for football as well. Was there anything you added or maybe subtracted from, I guess, your repertoire, moving into hockey, or things you had to cut out through trial and error?
Oh, that's a great question. So
I know, thanks.
So with wrestling and football, I mean, my senior, like, I thought I was in the best shape I've ever been in my life. And probably was. A few years out of high school, a friend of mine, maybe only 2 years out of high school, a friend of mine talked me into doing a beer league, old timers league skate with him. I went up and down the ice twice, super fast, and I thought my legs and my heart were going to explode. Like, hockey's one of the toughest ones to match off ice, right? Like that explosion. So one thing I learned from Bismarck, which is super hilly, is running hills, right? It'll make your lungs burn.
Yeah.
So I did incorporate the dike for summer workouts. Super good. Other than that, yeah, like I don't know how you copy the just those bursts of speed and your legs and your lungs skating. I mean, unless you're a hockey player, you don't appreciate what that takes.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that. I was talking to a player the other day, and he mentioned his coach still likes to do bag skates on Mondays. And I was surprised because that seems to have gone, because none of that quick explosion, the intense activity for 45 seconds of the shift to kind of mimic the game. It's just like a long-term, kind of a grueling type of thing. And I don't think the conditioning, unless I'm way off base, but I don't think you get a lot of conditioning out of that. I think it's a misplaced type of exercise for hockey, where I think a quick sprint up a hill would closely mimic what you're going through on the ice, right?
Right.
Yeah, but that's the only thing that I could think of is how to mimic that. But I've never had to do the bag skate, but that seems like it would work quite well. Little mental.
Maybe,
fortitude there.
yeah. The kid actually noted it wasn't punishment related. It was just like, this is what we do on Mondays. Win, lose, draw. We're gonna. So I guess I was curious as to what the end result was going to be conditioning wise.
Well, I echo what Shane says. I still think hill running is one of the best things you can do as an athlete to try to build your speed. In fact, the dike is actually a perfect area to do it here in Grand Forks because the dike has varying levels of inclines. There's actually almost a ramped incline that's perfect for beginners and better for injury prevention. And then there's steeper areas that you can go to as you progress. So it's actually a surprisingly free place to work out. And I don't know about you, Shane. I mean, you don't need to run until you die. At 20 up and jog down are
Yes.
more than enough.
Yeah, agree 100%. Yep. And you might think 20 times up a dike's pretty easy, but do it once. I don't think I could do 20.
Oof, no.
Oh,
Matt really got into when he was playing. I want to say it was when he was down in Prescott Valley. Is those sleds, those weighted sleds that you push. That's when he also is a big fan of the up down running the dike. But the sledge just for that, like you said, that explosion. Because hockey players need that. And so that sled that you push, it that's what it targets, is those muscles that have to react and explode really fast, because hockey is just kind of different in that way. I always laugh with Matt because sometimes you'll see hockey players, like football players and stuff, they tend to have that same like classically chiseled build, but there's some guys that will take off their shirt that are like professional hockey players, and I'll go, God, they just like Bill Kessel, and I'm like, they just don't look like, like a professional athlete. And that's like, they just don't need to be that. It's what muscles they use that have to be utilized. It's not, they don't, it's different parts of the body. He's like, and I guarantee you, he's very strong. He's like, he couldn't do what he does without being very strong. But you just wouldn't look at that guy and be like, it's a professional athlete right there.
Funny, being a non-hockey player, I said the exact same thing. I'm like,
yeah.
You look at any even professional baseball players, those are some big,
right.
ripped boys.
Right.
Sorry, Patches.
That's Mr. O'Houlihan to you, sir.
So I said that. I'm like, I look at some hockey players and watch them, what they do on the ice, and then see them with their shirt off. I'm like, no, how?
Yeah. No, I know, it's crazy, but it's just, it's not that they don't need upper body strength, because for sure, shooting requires upper body strength, battling in corners requires it, but it's that lower strength that they need. That is their center. And so that's what I've enjoyed even with Jet, because I have one of the little guys in his age group. He's not one of the big guys. And so as he's gotten this training and this conditioning, I'm seeing him more confident in the corners, more confident in puck battles, you know, like, so what I love seeing about it is, um, it gives the little guys an opportunity to compete as well, you know, I mean, because you worry about that, like, ooh, there's boys that are so much bigger than them, but that's where I've loved this strength training is I'm seeing him where he can stand up with those bigger boys, even though they're twice his size. He's getting sturdier on his skates, sturdier in his core, where they can't push him around as much as you would expect with him being on the smaller end of the team. So been good.
That's actually a good segue, Kelly. One of the things I wanted to ask Shane about as well is I alluded to it earlier in the show. Football, wrestling background, boys that played hockey. What kind of lessons do you try and impart to them about some of that stuff, competing against bigger guys and that kind of, like, what kind of wrestling or football lessons can you or did you pass along to the boys to?
I wish all my boys would have wrestled. Living in Grand Forks, I knew that was an impossibility. Maybe a short term. So the older two boys wrestled for 3-4 years. The one thing I like about, well, playing several sports, right? Football's another good one. Balance. I mean, all sports, baseball too. But it's every sport's got its different balance. It's hand-eye, foot-eye, and everything kind of comes together, right? Where if you just play one sport, you only learn to balance, like hockey, right? You only learn to balance on skates. And there's a lot of in the corner battles or against bigger guy battles that unless you play different sports, I don't think you necessarily get unless you're super into that. So, but I was just you just give everything you got at all times, right?
Yeah.
Bigger guys, I mean, that doesn't mean anything. So other than that, I didn't give them I talked as little as possible about hockey because I didn't play hockey. So I didn't want to mess anything up. Don't need them going backwards.
How did you guys get started in hockey then when you were coming from a wrestling background?
So Mace, my oldest, started hockey and wrestling the same year. I think it was 3 or 4, whatever it was. But my wife's Andrea's good friend, JC Gibbs at the time, JC Burris, bought Chase a little knee hockey stick or whatever, or Mason a little knee hockey stick when he was 3 years old. And of course, we had a rink in the backyard. You can't not have a rink. You can't. I mean, there's UND hockey and Central and Red River, and these kids just love it in this town. So I knew that was going to be a strong, formidable opponent to beat. And I took defeat.
Yeah. Yeah, made wrestling a little bit harder to sell.
Yeah. No, so they wrestled, a few years, and then you just can't do both at a certain time.
Yeah.
To be fair, your youngest, if there's a knee hockey tournament at my house, if there's a post hockey wrestling match, your youngest usually wins, comes out of the
That
pile.
is true.
He's typically, he definitely loves wrestling. He asked me if he could do it. I said, 100%. We'll sign you up. I can see if I can get my money back from GFYH. And
2 weekends left. We just haven't been happy. Can we have a refund, please?
Not feeling it.
I actually have a question, a submitted question from a Chase R, who said he's a first-time watching. Why do you have 3 kids and 2 are forwards and 1 is a defenseman? Can you explain?
That's a fabulous question.
that is a fabulous question. The oldest 2 are forwards. My third was defenseman. I believe it was coaches that knew a lot more about hockey than I did that said, you suck as forwards, you're just moving back to D. I don't know. It baffles me.
I've got a great answer because I'm familiar with this Chase R, and I can tell you, Shane and I had the wonderful opportunity to coach football together this last year, and this specific child asked, why do I play outside linebacker? Why do I not play more middle linebacker? I said, you're not here to think, you're just here to run fast and hurt people.
Great answer. Especially to give to a 12-year-old boy. That's a perfect answer.
Hey,
That's his
I
job.
asked, and he did his job well.
And I was gonna say, I'm sure Chase was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're right. I don't know why I ever questioned.
Yep.
I would say the answer, and I feel like I can say this because I have seen him skate since, what are we talking, 4 or 5 that this all started. Anyone who can get from this end of the ice to this end of the ice as quickly as Chase R should be a defenseman. Because that kid, when he hauls ass, my husband puts it, most kids have 2 gears, Chase has a 3rd gear. And when he throws into 3rd gear, you won't catch him. So it's just a good spot for him.
Yeah, this story's
Yeah, I love it. Go ahead, Kyle. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just speaking to the speed. My boy's the goalie. I watched the game in the summer. Kid had a half breakaway when Chase R was on the ice. My kid didn't bother to get ready. He didn't even come out to the top of his crease. He had his stick up. He's leaning on the net. I'm like, you gotta get ready for the. He goes, oh, Chase is gonna get him anyways. Okay.
Hey.
And if you think he's fast in hockey or in football, you haven't seen him play center field yet.
He can wheel around those bases.
The right fielder and the left fielder. Well, the right fielder brought a hibachi grill and was sitting out there making some hot dogs. And the left fielder, honestly, I think he was having a bake sale. I'm not positive, but it looked like a bake sale to me.
That's my idea of a good baseball game.
Did they have scotcheroos at the bake sale?
Go ahead, Kyle.
Oh no, I just asked if they had scotcheroos at that bake sale.
No, but they did have special gay bars.
Okay.
Only a jerk would bring scotcheroos to something like that, Kyle.
Jerks, right?
Which also, by the way, speaking of jerks, I've never actually been sober on one of these. And now I realize I did not know Kyle was such a jerk. Now I know why I couldn't tell.
Just gotta mix it up a little bit. You know what I mean? You can kind of been sandbagging that a little.
Very nice.
Thanks a lot. Shane, we have a couple extra questions for you. One Corey will ask. The other one I want to ask is, what do you call the province where I am from?
This was a big deal in episode 2.
1 through 23.
All of them.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan.
Oh, so good.
Correct.
Kelly, it feels like you and I have established a good baseline for how to say it. And I think Corey's firmly in the minority now.
Well, I wouldn't be so far in the minority if when either of you say that outside the context of this podcast, you would say it that way. But
Saskatchewan.
I feel emboldened enough to do it now. Like just like dropping it like, like a cool kid.
You made a sticker, Kelly.
Especially want to do it in front of a Canadian just to see if they notice.
I'll have my brothers come down. You can say it right to their face.
Sure. Yep. Don't give them a heads up. I just want to throw it in there and have them be like, wow, that's impressive.
I keep trying to get my 2 brothers to apply for green cards because the youngest one is Riverside through and through. I'm just gonna buy him a house there because he's ready to.
We'll take him.
Full
Take him.
Yeah.
He's a kosher. That's all I needed to know. That's it.
I feel like this is the time of year where I have to throw out yet another Canadian PSA to remind Canadians everywhere. The equator and Ecuador are not the same things.
Good lesson. In metric, they are. Yeah. Completely different.
The more you know.
I'm going to use that one.
The more you know. The more you know.
Corey, you want to ask your question because I have a follow-up challenge for Shane actually.
Oh, for my question. Okay, so obviously Shane, you didn't play hockey like I didn't, and you were a wrestler like I was. Is there any chirping that went on that you were aware of between wrestlers? And if so, did a wrestler ever say anything to you like a chirp?
Boy.
Wrestlers don't shit talk?
No, you just pick the guy up, you
Yeah.
cross face him, you slam him on the ground. What are you gonna say to him?
Yeah. Or if you
Everyone's in a
want-
onesie. Everyone's in a onesie. You could go low if you want. You could go really low. All
I
right.
walked
Whether or
out.
not
I walked into
circumcised.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just
No,
saying. I'm just saying.
Hey.
You could, if you wanted. It's all right out there in front of you.
Yeah.
So you could get
Well-
mean if you want.
I can make Shane smile because as a wrestler, if you really want to embarrass someone, you throw the Saturday Night Ride in. He can describe what that is at his pleasure. No, okay.
Now I'm intrigued. Now I'm intrigued.
Hard pass.
We'll tell Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
You know what? At some point, we're gonna just have to tell Kelly because I watched a few episodes back and there was like every episode, like we'll just tell Matt, and it kind of feels
I'll just force him to tell me this.
yeah.
That's disappointing. I would have thought, I mean, I've watched enough WWF to know that there is some trash talking that goes on in wrestling. That's entertainment wrestling, but still, wrestling nonetheless. So I suppose it's that you're too wore out to shit talk, because we were out to eat the other night and they had a wrestling tournament on the TV. And my God, I was exhausted watching these young gentlemen. I mean, it was exhausting. I can't believe how long they stayed in that match. I would not have. I would have given up. I would have tapped out immediately. But again, we go back to my pro sitting stance, so I wouldn't have succeeded. But wrestling is exhausting. So I don't know. I would be doing a lot of shit talking because it's so much like it looks like it hurts. So I don't know. I just think there should be some shit talking.
Well, you're dead right, I think, Kelly. Maybe Shane can say it too, but like you really can't do much of that because the speed of the constant nature. I mean, the closest I ever got to shit talking in a wrestling match was I was wrestling a friend of mine in a duel, and he caught me in a non-pinnable cradle. So he couldn't do anything. He couldn't get any more points. We were both just stuck there as long as he felt like hanging on. And I literally, the ref is right there waiting to see if I was going to get pinned or not, which I couldn't be based on the way he held the move. And I looked at the guy and I said, either let me go or I'm going to kiss you or fart or both. And the ref was very angry and the guy let me go.
Corey.
And we both just started laughing, like in the middle of the wrestling match. Neither of us did anything.
That's exactly what I was hoping for, though, because
Yeah.
that's exactly what I would think that would lead to. Like get the fuck off of me or something like that. That's where I would be. I panic though, so that's
Get the fuck off. That's
right. Like that, in my opinion, that would be the most natural thing to say. Get the fuck off of me.
Straight to the point.
Yeah, that's Amanda's favorite shirt of all time.
But probably why you see less girl wrestlers, because it would get mean. Hair pulling would ensue. Girls are just meaner. They're just meaner.
On that note, Shane, did you ever watch The Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling or Glow?
Oh, I love Glow.
And Cheyenne was the best, right?
Wait, now
Well,
Cheyenne, aka who?
I think she just went by Cheyenne. She was named Cheyenne, and her choice was stripper or glow wrestler, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never seen Glow Wrestling.
It's on
It's a
Netflix.
TV show.
Yep, and you need to look into it because Glow is really good.
I'm not
One of
talking
my
Netflix.
favorite
I'm
quotes
talking
comes
the
from
actual
Glow.
program that was on in the 90s.
Oh, the actual.
Oh.
So I have
You weren't
not
born
seen the
yet, Kelly,
actual,
but yeah,
but I've seen the remake on Netflix, which is wonderful.
I'm talking the legit program.
You had me
Gorgeous
too. I
Ladies of
thought
Wrestling.
it was a Netflix show. I have no idea.
Well,
I will send her. I'll put a clip on Instagram tomorrow, or just send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But I've seen the
So-
show about Glow, which is also called Glow.
I haven't watched that, but the actual product was also quite good.
It's wonderful.
Love
It's
a
worth
camp.
looking into.
So here's a challenge for Shane. This is a Red River Central type of thing. Went to parent teacher conferences last night. They had or tonight rather, they had an ad placed in the dining area at Schrader. Said, if you're interested, come Thursday the 22nd to join, if you're interested in joining the Red River Trap Shooting Club. Now, Red River only. Shane, who is a good trap shooter, and I also go with Shane, I'm just good in the room. Shane, you should start the Central Trap Shooting Club.
Well,
Big way from dry land, which is drinking Bush Light.
so Central has a trap shooting club, and actually it was just Grand Forks together. So Central has a team,
Okay.
and maybe Red River's making their own team now.
It looks like they are, yeah.
So Central has a team.
Okay, challenge accepted.
Shane, two-part question. Has anyone ever called you Sugar Shane Reynolds? And did you know that we're going to call this episode Sugar Shane Reynolds?
Great. So I answered the second one first. And the first one, yes, I've heard that once or twice.
Okay, all right. Not by your wife, though, by someone else?
By someone not
It would have
answering.
been way better if it was by my wife. It would be a better story. But no.
Yeah. Okay. Just had to try.
Missed opportunity.
Now Shane, we're gonna get you out of here in a reasonable amount of time, in mere minutes. If you had to look, say, let's call it 2 weeks into the future, do you think episode 8 or episode 24 will have more views?
It's a
So
trap.
just pretty
Shane.
random.
Shane,
Let's
it's
go
a trap.
24. What number are we on?
So you are episode 24. Andrea is episode 8.
I tried to warn you. I
In
tried.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Well, that's not enough time. I need, give me 15 days.
Okay.
I can do that.
All right. We're gonna find out.
What am I going up against here?
Your wife.
Wifey. Your
Yeah,
wifey.
I know what kind of number.
You know, I actually don't know.
We'll look it up though.
Yeah, we
Hey.
can look it up,
We do as much back end preparation as we do front end.
which is to say none. I make sure I have ice and Fresca, and that's about as far as I get.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can take that however you want it.
Hell yeah.
And Blue Dolphin.
I was gonna say, this is on water. He's saying things
Yeah.
about front end and back end preparation. So
I'm usually more animated, or at least I slur my speech more. I don't know.
Yeah. Shane, do you have any parting thoughts on Dryland? Anything you wish? So here's the interesting fact, looking at our listenership. We have a pretty significant portion that's under 18. In the 18 to 2 demographic, we have a big 0. No one in that demo listens to us. We have 22 to 30 is okay. 30 to 45 is very strong. 45 to 60 is pretty good. 60 plus also strong, which I assume is Matt's friends, I guess, Kelly.
Yeah. Yep.
Ladies, obviously.
Yep.
Any parting shots for those under 18s, Shane?
Under 18s. Okay, so for the under 18s, it's pretty easy. And this one, I'm kind of a broken record. You're gonna get out what you put in. It's pretty simple, right? And that goes with anything in life. But I mean, Dryland is just one of those things, right?
Yeah.
You get out what you put in.
Would you be willing to take on an 8-year-old intern that lives at my house that likes to come and yell at Pee-wee A. Red about they're not working hard enough?
I could use that. I could use it. Yep. Save on my voice.
Yeah. If you were looking for someone to motherfuck 12-year-olds, I got an 8-year-old that will yell at them all day long. Yeah, legit. Anyone else? Parting shots?
Yeah, I do. I've got something to say to the under 18-year-olds. Does your mother know you're listening to this right now?
what are you doing?
Party shots for Shane. Are we shutting her down after Shane's gone? Otherwise, I want to tell you guys the reason I was late story.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think, yeah, you can, Shane, please feel free to just do an Irish goodbye, or you can wait, whatever, but I need to hear the story.
So I get a call, or my wife gets a call as we're unloading the groceries into the pantry, and she picks up the phone and she screams, "What?" into the phone. To which I do the only natural reaction and wonder, how did Parker die and who did it? Like, he's at practice. What was the thing that eventually caused his death? Was it forgetting to put the blades on the bottom of the skates? Was it he didn't put a helmet on and he took a puck to the face? I don't know day to day, but it was going to happen. To
You
which
knew it
she
was
said,
coming.
yeah. To which she said, relax, your son is fine. And I said, so why did you just have a reaction? Like they sold out of your favorite nail polish. Now it is at that point that came out of my mouth, and I realized I'd yet again made another mistake.
No. Yeah,
And
blunder.
Jess looked at me as she usually does with some level of disgust. Then she weighed the fact that we have children and mutual debt, and I came up barely on the right side of that equation.
Right.
So
Who says debt is a bad thing?
it's not, trust me. It's got me married for 26 years, Jane. That is it. If we ever get out of debt, I'm in trouble. I've actually
You're screwed.
I create fake mortgage paperwork now, just so Jess still thinks we're in debt.
Go buy a
Would be a
boat.
really, really silly financial move for you to get out of this, Jess.
Yeah. She's like, when did we take out a mortgage with he said, she said incorporated? I was like, oh yeah, that's the second garage mortgage.
You were there. You remember.
It was for hockey. Don't worry about it. Anyways, she hangs up the phone and I'm like, what happened? So the Bantam AA players, not AA, the Bantam's second years across the board are all graduating out of youth hockey. So every year the association tries to do something nice for the kids that are graduating out of the system. And part of what they did this year was they got giant balloon displays that you could take a picture beside with your child, right? So it's like a congratulations, Bantams. There are these giant balloon things on metal poles, balloons by Misty. She's in town. She did some great work on them, right? So Monday, Jess and I drove over to Perper to Eagles. We had to bring them over to Perper, and I realized these things are not capable of being moved by my truck because they're giant base poles with balloons everywhere. If I try to drive with these things, I'll either lose the balloons or I'm lose these poles. So we called and we said, hey, she was going to judge them up a little bit too, because a bunch of different team levels from B all the way up to the AA program, we're going to use them all at their different games for the graduating players. So since you're going to fix them up a little bit, would you mind bringing your van and just moving them for us? Because we don't want to wreck them on the move. She's like, yeah, absolutely. So she goes to pick them up and they're not there. Unfortunately, the rink staff thought they were garbage. And they threw them out.
No.
So this was my wife taking the phone call from the lady because these poles that they were on were obviously something that cost money as well, and one of them was destroyed when it was thrown into the dump. And she was a little perturbed. Not, by the way, did she handle it well, but she was just obviously, not only was the service no longer available because the balloons were destroyed, but her posts were destroyed as well.
No.
So I was talking to the association to explain to them what happened, because as you can imagine, 3/4 of our teams have received really nice balloon displays that were well done, and some of them will not now. And we owe the company some money for destroying their balloon poles.
Yikes.
So that's why I was a few minutes late.
Begs the question, why not ask if these are garbage, you know? Lord.
I want to presume nothing more than a hilarious story, right? Someone just made a mistake and threw them away, but I'm on the phone and I'm like, we were the ones who were supposed to move the dang things and I couldn't. And I suppose I could have called the rink guys and said, hey, don't throw these out, but it never, ever crossed my mind that someone would chuck those things.
No, giant balloon displays. Yeah, I would think that someone would be like, leave these alone for whoever they belong to.
You'd think somebody would steal them before throw them in the garbage.
Yeah. We did salvage the sign that came with them because that was the only thing we could fit in our vehicle, so we took that with us.
Yikes. Well, so yeah, for sure a minor crisis. That's time well spent.
Yes.
Shane, thank you so much for joining us. How has the first 2 weeks of being a Hall of Famer treated you?
Oh, just another day. Just
Have you
another
become
day.
difficult to live with?
That's every day, Kelly.
All
No
right.
more,
Okay.
no less. Let's
Yeah.
get her-
Do you sign your autographs? Do you sign your autographs now? HOF Central?
I just have a stamp.
Sugar Shane.
okay.
Sugar Shane. Yeah.
Sugar Shane. Sugar
Sugar
Shane. HOF
Yeah.
Central.
I love it.
Yeah, that's good. Well done. Kelly, thoughts?
No, just gearing up. This is a big week. This is a big week for hockey. So high school hockey tournament. It's one of my absolute favorite weeks of the year, in
Would you-
particular because I could now live with my husband because Central is going to state. I don't know that our marriage or his mental capacity could have survived the third year. So
Would you
Hallelujah.
like to tease out, say, well, let's call it episode 26. Who's going to be our guest?
it's going to be Matt Moreland, and we're going to get a high school hockey wrap up. And, I can't guarantee his sobriety. I mean, it might be better than the day he participated in a golf tournament. It might be worse. We'll see. We like to keep things exciting and fun.
I like it.
In the chance that a certain team in high school hockey beats another certain team in high school hockey, I feel like I would enjoy that episode more than usual, and I will look forward to that.
You don't know. You don't know. Hey, that's the beauty of the tournament. I mean, Dickinson won the West.
Yeah.
First time ever. First
Yep.
time ever. So that's the stuff I love. I do. I love it.
Yeah, that's fun.
It always keeps you on your toes, and that's how it. When it comes down to a tournament where one game decides, anything can happen.
Anything can happen, indeed. Shane, parting thoughts?
I think I'm on round 2. Didn't I already do one? I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes people have a lot of thoughts.
We
you know?
just keep going in circles till everyone stops.
That was my thought. That was the thought I had.
You really
the
don't
week
listen to
after.
this at all, do you,
Yeah,
Shane?
we got Pee Wee state tournament the week after that.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm excited for that as well.
Actually, Kelly, I'm going to use this as would you consider having your youngest and my youngest on to do a Might 2 wrap up?
Ooh, for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
because they also, it's a tournament this weekend.
Yeah.
It's extended season, so now we're into full ice. The rules have changed.
My Might 2 told me is sometimes faker, told me he was sick all day. I'm like, no, you're not. Go to hockey. And had to leave the ice twice to go to the bathroom, and then came home and threw up all over the place. So I guess Dad's got to listen sometimes.
Yeah,
So.
wasn't faking. Turns out that's all right.
Wasn't faking.
Can't know.
Never believe them.
You don't know until they throw up.
That's
Yeah,
right.
they just don't.
He also peed on the ice once, so I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
This
men's
is
beer
also.
leaguers do that too.
Pardon me.
Men's beer league players do that too, Kyle.
Fair point.
That's true.
I've been messing with this all day. This is not a vape. This is a mini lighter / cattle prod. So
This is the second time this week, Kyle, you said to me, "This is not a vape in my hand."
This isn't a vape.
I aim for consistency, and it looks like I've nailed it. So,
Amen.
Shane, thanks you so much for joining us and staying up. Shane has to be at work in 4 minutes, so
Yeah.
Thanks.
enjoy your ride into work.
Go to bed. All
Go to
right.
bed. Thank
See you
you.
tomorrow night, Shane.
I don't know how to do this.
You're doing just fine. Thanks all. Hope you enjoyed episode 24. Join us soon for episode 25 with a guest that we have yet to choose. Talk soon.
Sounds good, guys. Good night.
Good night, everybody.